Boom, y'all know what it is. We are back. War Eagle, the War Report here with a very reluctant sigh of relief at the end of this game. We'll get into it. We defeat Ole Miss 35-28. As always, if you're on YouTube, click like and subscribe. Listen, man, we want to make sure that you guys are able to know when we are going live so you can stay tuned and have these conversations with us pre-post game and halftime. Twitter and Instagram, we are the War Report. And if you're following us on TikTok, it's TW Report. All right, guys. So we will get to our grades in just a moment, but just instant reactions of how you feel like this game went. I just want to start, and I said this before we got on, and I've said this before, Gus Malzahn is the luckiest coach in the history of college football. Somehow he finds ways to get these ridiculous calls going in his direction that shouldn't, and last minute, like, I just don't understand how he, like, what, I don't know demon he has working for him behind the scenes. He does voodoo or something. Gus Malzahn, bruh, every time his job is in danger, they pull off one of these. So anyway, we got the W. Instant reactions. How you guys feeling?
We were so close. We were so close to that. Kevin Steele's gonna be the interim HC while we put on a full body search. I was looking forward to Alan Green at a podium explaining why we were gonna separate from Gus Malzahn and go in another direction. As bad as we looked, I just knew this was gonna be it. I thought the stars were aligning to get me a new coach, but the rest then aligned to block the stars on that formation. And made sure that we got the ball on the last drive, and I'm hurt, man. I'm hurt.
There was a part of me that almost kind of wanted us to lose this game.
Oh, you saw it in the chat. I was like, we're losing this.
That muff kickoff, because that's now the storyline of this game, right?
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I would not have seen that thing scraped his pinky finger if it wasn't for a zoom in on a slow-mo. I mean, I don't think it's easy for refs to see that. The ball didn't seem to change trajectory in real time, so I get why they missed that, but that was still a muff.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
The only consolation that I have in any of this is that we still know how trash we are, and it showed again this week. Like, we played just okay. Like, if you take everything into account, we deserve to lose this game. And we got away with one. And Ole Miss is going to feel like that. They're going to feel like we let them win this game and we rightfully should have won. They're going to point to that missed call. They're going to point to the drops that they had. They're going to point to all the stuff. But look, we screwed up just as much as they did. And it just so happened that one of the screw-ups was I don't think that was a hold on Tank's touchdown. Anyway, listen.
No,
I don't want to go. I don't want to get back and forth into what the refs could have done. At the end of the day, we won the game, and somebody pull up the stat lines for me because I want to see rushing yards for Tank and on how many carries. Shivers, I want to see all of that.
Well, we finished with 224 yards rushing. Tank went 24 for 129. Shivers was 11 for 60 yards. Bo had 52 yards rushing on 10 carries, and TJ Williams only had 1 carry for 8 yards.
Okay, so not the over 300-yard rushing performance I thought we were going to have to win this game, but pretty good on the ground. Bo Nix, what was his stat line?
Bo Nix
for 30.
38 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
What was I didn't hear the completions. What was it?
23 for 30 for 238 and a touchdown.
So you got it right, Ike.
So, listen, under 25, right where I wanted it to be, and minus a couple of drops would have been more than that. But he got Seth Williams, man. Good God, that dude is freaking beastly. Because that ridiculous off the back foot throw down to the 1 yard line, which probably was a touchdown, but down to the 1 yard line, we score on the next play, was 80% Seth. Like, that's 80% Seth. He throws a prayer up and Seth goes and snatches it out, and from in between 3 defenders, mind you. And then on the last play, where he scored the touchdown, Great back shoulder throw. I will get that. That's one of the best throws Bo Nix has thrown in his two. I think that there's probably the Sal Cannella touchdown he threw last year, where Sal is tiptoeing across the on the sideline. Yeah, that one and that back shoulder throw. Those are probably the best two throws. He like if he only has two throws in his highlight package, it better be those two. Yeah. But yeah, man, I know we escaped with a victory. Now, Mike heard us talking about how we didn't feel like Bo played bad this game, and somehow converted that into we're giddy about Bo. So I want to give you the opportunity to do your typical Bo Nix bashing in the aftermath of this victory.
Well, let me say this. Let me talk about the positives, right?
Okay.
He didn't turn the ball over, right?
He did not. Even though he almost did.
He wanted to.
Like,
almost three times. One of them was a result of a drop, but it was almost three of them. The Seth Williams one could have been picked, and then he threw another one into cloud coverage.
Yeah, two that I really could have attributed to him. I mean, at the end of the day, what we have is we have a just below average team that beat a bad team, right? So, like I said in pregame, I take absolutely nothing away from Bo Nix. The only thing that he could really put on his record that's positive about this is the first game that he's played on the road in his whole career that he wasn't completely trashed from a statistical standpoint, right? But, in actuality, it was typical Bo Nix, a lot of bad throws that just happened to work out. The throw to Seth Williams.
So wait a minute, a lot of bad throws. I think that's where we're gonna part ways. A lot of bad throws.
When I say a lot, I mean like 4 to 5 completions that could have changed the complexion of the game, right? That just they're not throws that you want to see him making that many times. Listen, the ball to Seth Williams is an end of the game. I have to make that play, Hail Mary type play. Like I can't believe that we can't find any other thing other than him throwing the ball sideways, falling backwards across his body 40 yards down the field, right? So, like, in any other season where our quarterback doesn't normally make that play, we've just seen it happen too many times. Him try to make that play when he doesn't have to, and then it doesn't work out. It just happens to work out because, again, the team on the other side is trash, right? And then the receiver makes a great play. That's it. That's all that happened there. Like, you can take nothing away from that. And if you
which we acknowledge,
it was luck.
If you take that completion away from this, right? Like, he's under 200 yards. I mean, the stat line just isn't that impressive. 2 of those throws, if they're incomplete, the stat line is not that impressive. So, like,
if you're taking away completions that he should not have gotten, then you have to give him completions that people drop too. So you can't do that. Like, it is what it is.
It's fair. But what I'm saying is, this says absolutely nothing about Bo Nix, right? Like,
this is all I want from him is a decent game, and that's what he gave us, a decent game.
Not gonna get that. It gets a better team, though. That's why this
I don't give a shit what we're gonna not get from other games. I'm talking about what happened on the field today.
I think, Mike, we understand this is fool's gold. I think the thing that we appreciate is that we actually got this. Even with Ole Miss, like, we wasn't even expecting this against Ole Miss.
Right. My expectation was 2 picks today. Honestly, I thought he was going to throw 2 interceptions today and give the game away to the other team. This game is one of the few games I can say in the last 2 years since Bo Nix has been the trigger man that we did not win in spite of him. That's all I'm saying. He did not put us in such. Are you serious that you feel like we won in spite of Bo? The game plan wasn't even to have him throw the ball very much. We were run heavy in this game. Bo did not put us in bad positions routinely in this game. The reasons we were in bad positions is a bad snap on a punt. We freaking couldn't stop anybody on defense. You cannot put this in the lap of Bo Nix as to the reason why you feel as if we were in the position to almost lose this game. This isn't on Bo. For the first time in 2 years, he played an okay game manager type of game, and our defense basically went out there and was like, we don't want to get those stops today.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. I think take Big B ran for 3 yards.
He hate Bo, man.
I know, and I don't like him either, but he's not even being reasonable.
Yeah, Sean Shivers had a decent game running the ball. I mean, they
All agreements.
everybody that we had touched the ball averaged over 5 yards a carry. That's why we were in a position to win this game, right? Like,
Correct. I'm not saying that. I didn't say Bo was the reason we'd won. I said we didn't win in spite of him. Those are completely different statements.
Yeah, I think that when you have to change the game plan, right, to take your quarterback out of situations, you are winning in spite of him, and you still needed him. And again, we're just a couple of bad throws that worked out away from having a very different conversation about this. So
or we're a couple of people making catches on good throws that we're having a different conversation about this, right?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm not discounting that either. I'm just saying, like, listen, at the end of the day, I take absolutely nothing away from this. I'm not
either.
I'm not where you guys are at about,
where am I? So this is where we're going to part ways. Where you're telling me where I am.
Where you're at is Bo didn't mess up, and I'm just
he didn't.
I don't know why we're talking about that. This was a bad team. This is a 1-4 team at the end of the day.
Because we're analyzing the game that just happened. I am not giving you some sort of soliloquy of Bo Nix's career or trying to exegete about whether or not he's going to be a great Heisman candidate for the remainder of the year. I'm talking about one football game in which he did not screw up for the first time. And you're telling me that I am trying to make him the heir apparent to the Auburn throne after this game.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that
gotta be because you're not saying what I'm saying.
Below you guys on his performance. I don't think his performance was a factor in this game at all. I think they're running the ball.
What level am I at? We haven't even given grades yet, and you're saying.
Hold on, Ike.
Let's revisit it when we get to the grades.
Let me ask you this, Mike. You said Bo's performance wasn't a factor. How did we score the game-winning touchdown again?
Well, he threw the one good pass he's thrown on the road in 2 years, right? Like I said, I'm not taking
He had a couple of good throws today. It wasn't just one.
He threw
better. No, the issue is his performance wasn't a factor. Bo's performance wasn't a factor in South Carolina last week, right? He cost us the game. He didn't help us win.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you want to talk about him being a factor, he still contributed.
Yeah, the bigger factor was the rushing game. And
okay. So you're acting like we're giving Bo credit for the win, and we're not.
He's got to contribute because he's your quarterback. And at the end of the day,
he don't. No, he doesn't.
He did in the position that we were in because we had to throw the ball in the last.
You're saying something completely different. Like there's a level of hatred that you have in your soul for this man that won't even allow you to give him credit, and you're acting like we are crediting him with the victory. I didn't. If we're going to rank things, then yes, the run game is the reason we won.
You guys are not above where I'm at on Bo Nix. You guys are right here. I'm right now.
Nah, I think you're like 4 or 5 notches because you talking like we're giving him so much praise.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, like, again, you're talking about the game. I don't care about the game. I stated that before in the pregame. I don't care about the game. There was nothing he was going to be able to do in this game that was going to take anything positive.
That's what we're here to talk about, though, Mike. The game.
But Mike, you also had us losing the game.
So talk about other factors, right? So again, the offensive line took the step that I thought that they needed to take. They did better run blocking. Tank Bigsby, again, when was the last time we had back-to-back 100-yard rushing games? Right?
Can't remember.
Can't remember. Yeah, again, that's been something that's been missing for our offense for a very long time. I thought that because we were able to run the ball effectively, right, Bo was able to get some of those easy throws, which he threw poorly on some of them, and they were completed. But still, he got some throws that wouldn't have been there if we weren't able to run the ball, right? The defense did exactly what I said would happen in the pregame. I said, listen, this quarterback is going to give you a couple chances to intercept the ball. McCurry came up, he made a mistake taking it out of the end zone. We came up with another interception, which ultimately got our offense the ball back, right? And, in a game that came down to what really was the last possession, even if we didn't score off those turnovers, I don't remember if we scored off those turnovers. I don't think we scored off the first one.
I think we did.
I think we did.
Scored off one, right?
Yeah.
Right? So we scored off one. But the one we didn't score off, again, in a possession-type battle like this still matters because, again, it's time off the clock that your offensive has the ball. And, when they end up in a situation like they did, at the end of the game where there's little time left on the clock. That extra possession that we get on offense matters. So kudos to the defense for at least capitalizing on what we knew was coming from their quarterback. They throw the ball a ton. I mean, he didn't throw the ball. I mean, he only threw the ball 27 times in this game, so that's not a lot of throws versus what he has been doing. But he still gave us chances that we took advantage of. I saw tackles in the backfield. I was a little disappointed that we weren't able to get the quarterback down. They got to the quarterback, and for some reason, they just forgot how to tackle in the backfield. But they did put him on the run. He made some plays with his feet, and then we forced him into some errors. I mean, this team put up almost 40 points on Bama, right? Like, so I knew they were going to score some points. I thought strongly they would get to 35. They were their own worst enemy at the end of the day.
For sure. For sure.
Right. So, like, my takeaways are O-line, run game. Seth Williams is a monster. And the defense is still a work in progress, but at least able to capitalize on some opportunities when presented.
All right, well, let's get to these grades because that's what's gonna settle this. Because I still don't understand where you are about Bo Nix's performance on this game without having to go outside of the game to give analysis. Like I really fundamentally don't understand the Skip Bayless level of hatred that you have for this man, that you can't even credit him for having an okay game. I'm just saying though, but like, it's not as if you can't acknowledge that the game was okay. I didn't say the man had a Heisman Trophy candidate performance. I just said he was okay. And that's all I need him to be is
listen,
okay.
I get the hatred, but I just don't think he's being fair.
No, I'm saying I understand disliking Bo Nix because I fundamentally do not like him as our quarterback. I don't like that. I don't understand how it takes you to a place for not even allowing yourself to say he played okay. That's all. It was okay. It was an okay game. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just okay. And it's okay to say that. Anyway, let's get to the grades. We'll get to Bo Nix specifically in a minute. We'll start on the defensive side of the ball. Actually, we're supposed to start with special teams. And this actually is a time where we get to grade special teams performance. So I'm going to start with Caesar on the special teams. What you got?
I'm giving them a C- in this game. They made some mistakes that could have actually became the storyline down the stretch of this game with us being down a point in the game. You talk about Sean Shivers muffing the kickoff. That could have been disastrous. Probably could give them a little bit worse than a C-. I'm just being kind of nice to them. But they didn't play well. And being on a rainy day, wet day like that, special teams cannot be a weakness as it was for us today. If you want to talk about us winning in spite of something, we won in spite of special teams today. So I give them a C-.
That's factual statement. What you got, Mike?
I'm actually giving them a D. The muff extra point. I mean, we're very fortunate that didn't come back to bite us. Lots of muffs all over the field. It just wasn't a clean special teams game at all. Again, the only reason we're not giving them an F is because those things didn't turn into disasters, right?
The punt did. It didn't like score on that play, but it gave them opportunity to come down there and get points.
So D for me on special teams. That's indicative of this coaching and preparation and lack of mental focus that, on essentially what are procedural things on special teams were not executed well. Like, again, the snap, on the extra point. I mean, at first I was mad at the holder, and then I watched the replay and realized that he had to reach back here to try to grab that ball. I mean, it was such a bad snap, and we're just very fortunate that didn't come back to bite us in the type ball game. So D for me.
B Will.
Yes, I ain't D. For the same reasons Jay and Mike already gave. We really had to win in spite of special teams, and we haven't had to worry about that so far this year. They had one or two miscues, but it been like all Bo for a minute, and they kind of reversed to where Bo was more dependable than special teams this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with probably like a D+. I'm like teetering on the edges, but it wasn't good. I mean, the only thing that happened really good for us on special teams got taken away by a penalty.
A bogus penalty.
Yeah, I still think that was a trash holding call.
Actually,
Outside,
I'm a downgrade mine to a D plus because there's some C's I'm giving out in this game, and they didn't play as bad as special teams. So I
yeah,
have to be fair and give
yeah,
special teams a D plus there.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. We will start on defensive. Somebody asked a question: which one of us played football? I haven't played football since Little League, so that's not. I don't know what that has to do with whether or not we can talk about our team, but maybe there's a point there, Jerome. So go ahead and tell me the point in the
For
comments.
the record, Jerome, I filled every game in practice for 4 years and did team highlights and stats analysis. So I don't know if that gives us
I don't know what that has to do with whether or not we can analyze a game, but and maybe he's got a point. So tell us what your point is, Jerome. Anyway, but welcome to the stream. Defense. Let's start with the defensive line. This time I will start with Mike.
On the defense, I'm going to give them, a B minus. And they get a B minus because they capitalized on the turnovers. Without the 2 picks, it's a C performance. They gave up 283 yards rushing, and we actually got outgained on the ground by Ole Miss by just over 40 yards and somehow won. And so again, the picks kind of neutralized them from being a C for me. They made some plays. They got into the backfield and they started generating a pass rush. Tackling again. Poor tackling keeps this from being a B plus, B minus for me.
All right, let's go to B Will.
Man, them boys looked. I know part of it is scheme. Part of why the defense didn't look great is scheme. We left 3 down linemen a few times when Corral was back there, Corral was back there to try to play coverage, and we did. So I mean, when you do that, you're gonna leave some running lanes for the quarterback, and we got bitten, quite a few times. I don't know how much to take away from the defense because I know Lane Kiffin is good at what he does. I know he was prepared for what we do defensively. So at the same time, Big Cat Bryant, man, he just wants to get around people. He looks like he's trying to play basketball defense on quarterbacks, man. He just gets back there and he'll swat at them. He'll get there, but I mean, the quarterback broke out of a couple tackles a couple times that he should not have broken out of. It should not have happened, and that's getting a little.
I think B Will
Froze on it.
Yeah,
I'll say. Oh, did I freeze up? My bad.
Yeah.
But I'm giving them a C minus. I'm giving them a C minus. Our D line has to do a better job of getting the people and getting them down, and we still not doing a great job of that. I say C minus, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, Vernon Speaks. Just give a little shout out to him real quick. He's got an Auburn channel that he runs. So War Eagle to you, man. Appreciate you popping in.
War Eagle.
Caesar, what you got on the defensive line?
C plus for me. Giving up that many yards, there were missed opportunities to get the quarterback down the backfield. It's kind of hard for me to grade you high when they had so much success on the ground. But to me, that wasn't the worst unit on the defensive side of the ball, so I can't really slam them too hard. So I'm just going to give them a C plus.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with just a solid C on the defensive line. The pass rush was a lot better today. So I'm going to give them a little bit higher on that because of the pass rush. The missed tackles up front, though, the not staying in your the gap integrity is not as much a defensive line thing, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the defensive line, just a C. Like I don't think that they infected the game too much, but they didn't hurt us so much that we lost the game, of course, because we won. So I'll give a C to the defensive line. All right, let's take it back a layer and we'll talk about the linebackers, and we will start with B. Will on this one.
I saw Zacoby flying around a lot. I saw they were making the tackles that were there for him, but they were also in coverage a bunch, and they got ate up in coverage. And that's probably our biggest liability is you put our linebackers in space, man. We in some trouble. And the way you protect that is by having the D-line get to the quarterback. So as long as our D-line continues to have trouble getting to and taking down the quarterback, then our linebackers are going to get put in enough space to have them looking silly. But I didn't feel like they were an extreme liability. They did miss tackles, and that has been the hallmark of pre-Kevin Steele to post-Kevin Steele is we tackle much better. And I don't know. It's like we rolled the clock back to 2015, 2014 as far as how these guys been tackling this year. So I'll say B minus on the linebackers.
B minus linebackers. All right, Caesar, what you got?
I'm actually not going to be nice to them. This is the unit that I am disappointed in. And yes, I know KJ Britt has not been out there to provide the leadership, but at some point, these guys have to grow up. Papo is a former 5-star recruit. Yes, he's undersized, but this should be your ball game playing out in space. And at times, these guys look lost. And we saw even last year, even with Florida. Florida had a great scheme for getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands quick, which neutralized our defensive line. So at some point, our linebackers have to step up in play. Yeah. And I just didn't see that from these guys, and they're too talented to be looking that lost out there. And at some point, they got to grow up. And for our quarterbacks, Matt Corral is good at running the ball, and he's not even the run threat that Plumlee is. And a lot of that because our linebackers were out of position at times, misreads. They were able to get the ball out of the backfield, check down, guys coming out of the backfield wide open. Like, these guys were undisciplined. And actually, we got away with the potential unsportsmanlike or late hit on Zakoby McClain by hitting Plumlee. I think it was Plumlee or Corral.
I think it was Corral on the touchdown. Yeah. He hit him 2 yards into the end zone. Yeah.
So when you talk about playing a mentally sound game and being disciplined and showing up, these guys actually deserve a D plus when you think about it. So yes, I'm gonna be mean with them, like I said in the group chat, and give them a D plus there, because I feel like for as talented as these guys are, they're not living up and playing up to their potential. And as much as we praise Travis Williams as being a great recruiter and developer of talent, kids coming out to play for him, if I'm on that linebacking core, I feel like I let them down today. So I give them a D plus.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go C minus on the linebackers because to me, and I hinted at this when I talked about the gap integrity. Like, they are shooting the wrong gap a lot, right? Like I mean, honestly, that's it's a problem I think across the front that we're having a lot just in general. It's just people are not understanding which of these spaces you are supposed to be occupying on this play. Their assignment football is really poor in the front level. So I just need them to step up and do a little bit better. We had a comment here talking about they're tired because they're playing a bunch of snaps. The reason they're having to play a bunch of snaps is because they're not doing good on first and second down and getting people off the field. Like, if you just do your job, you can get off the field. Like, and that we're not doing our job consistently enough up front to make sure, especially against a team that was as committed to the run as Ole Miss was today. Ole Miss was super committed to the run. That means you have to have good play up front, and that means you have to have sound integrity on where your assignment is, especially on these when they're playing these read option things. It's like, all right, great. Who is your assignment on this play? It's not the freaking quarterback, so you don't need to be, a step late when you're getting here, and that's defensive line. You are supposed to be setting the edge on this, whether if you're the outside linebacker. Now, we played a lot of 3-down linemen, which meant we were in some sort of cloud coverage on the back end. So I have to share some of that blame, and we'll get to that when we get to the DBs. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to go C minus on the linebacker play. It wasn't inspiring for me. Like, I just didn't feel like they were downhill on the run, and they definitely were lost when it came to eye discipline on a lot of those exchanges, especially when we're talking about running backs or tight ends in the flat. They just were not communicating well enough on the back end in those situations.
And I like our DBs. I like our safeties playing up and playing aggressive. But typically, when those are your guys making the plays, that's a bad sign for your linebackers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Mike, I don't know if are you able to hear us over there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mike's a little muffled, but go ahead.
Wait, what are we on?
Linebackers.
I didn't notice the linebacker played much today. It seemed like, they were kind of just a symptom of the overall defensive play. I'm gonna go with like a C plus on the linebacker play. They didn't really hurt us, didn't help us. Like, they were just kind of this big this game. Like, not a whole lot to add there.
Yeah. Cool. So, all right, did everybody go on that one?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's talk about the defensive backs, and I'll start with our DBs. I'm gonna go a C minus again on this, and so I think I have to think about that for a second because I feel as if the reason why I'm giving the grade I'm giving for the DBs is mostly tackling. I just don't feel like we tackled well as a unit, and the DBs being that they had to get involved a lot with the type of defense we were playing today. They were not getting guys on the ground. The back end, we had the long pass interference call. One thing, so a person who I will give a shout out to on the defense, Smoke One Day played a pretty good game today. He played pretty good. Jalen Simpson played okay. It was questionable whether or not he was holding on the one-on-one that he had on the outside on that call. But the thing he did that other guys have not been doing this year is he got his head around, right? So he locates the receiver with one arm. He gets his head around to make sure that if there's a play on the ball, he at least looks as if he's going for the ball. And that's at least sound technique, right?
Right.
But just overall, I just don't think that the DBs had a great game. I mean, the defense overall was just right. Like it wasn't good. It wasn't terrible, but there wasn't a ton of things that you look at on the defense and you're like, this is what I've been wanting to see. There wasn't a ton of that. Right. And had it not been for drops, because there were guys running pretty wide open in the defensive backfield today.
Tight end towards the end of that drive. End of the game.
And there's just no excuse. Like I understand that you're trying to keep people in the middle, but like he was running button. Like had he caught that, he had an opportunity to score if he could have ran over a guy, right? Yeah. Now he probably still would have gotten destroyed after he made the catch, but they would have been inside the 5-yard line with one more play left to go, right? And so that's just you can't have stuff like that happen. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a C- on that one. I will kick it to Caesar. What you got?
I'm gonna probably give them like a C+. I'm teetering between a C+ or B- there. I think they made enough plays in the backfield today to actually change course of the game quite a few times. And why they didn't play again against an offense like this that is dangerous as this, you're gonna probably look silly a few times.
Right.
And I'm willing to kind of excuse that. For the DBs, I think for what Ole Miss brings to the table offensively, for their quarterback to only go 16 to 27, 154 yards, I'm gonna give them a little bit of grace for the mistakes that they did make, and they came away with 2 picks. So yeah, I'm gonna give them a B-.
Which how is the last one even counted as an interception? He was like 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage when he threw that. Like, why does that still count as an interception?
Because we would have to accept the penalty, though, right? Wouldn't we?
I guess. I guess that's what I don't know what the actual rule is on that one. I mean, it's a clear interception, but it's like that shouldn't even been a throw.
Yeah, of course, if we're just going off stats, pure stats, but
yeah.
I think the DBs, they played well enough of a game, and again, you're going to see a pass interference here and there just because of the threat they pose in the passing game.
All right, B. Will, what you got?
I'll say about the same for the same reasons y'all said. I mean, C really because those missed tackles, and that's really what pops out about our defense the most to me is getting to somebody and not being able to get them down. In some cases, you got a cornerback like Tut out there trying to tackle a tight end and you get hurt. I mean, that's
Christian Tut, man.
He's not 100%. He's protecting himself. It shows.
He is not the player that he was last year. And like I said, I don't know if that's an injury thing, but he's out of position a lot. A lot. The one thing I like about Christian Tut and the thing that I liked most about him last year was his recognition. Like he could recognize stuff that was happening in front of him and he would react really quickly to make it where like those short throws, even if they were completed, they were immediately contested or he was breaking them up. And he's shown flashes of that this year, but he's been out of position a ton in this. Like the long play that they had in the first half, that was a release up the sideline. That was a misread where Tut was in the slot. They were supposed to exchange, and he was supposed to hand that off to the linebacker. He was supposed to have the outside guy, and they didn't. I don't know what the communication issue is back there, but yeah, it's not been good this year.
So the thing with Tut, He was one of my keys to the game. I think maybe against Kentucky or one of those games. And one of the things I began to really notice about him is even on fielding punts, he would just let punts roll and just flip field. Like he wouldn't run up to catch and field punts, which tells me something was off with him.
And they had Stove back there returning punts today.
And he's not shifty at all. Like he's a straight line runner. So to me, that was like, okay, something's up with Tut. Something's really up with Tut.
Yeah.
So I just, you kind of hope whoever's behind him can get to where they can contribute on the level of what we've known Tut to perform. But it's obvious he's kind of a stopgap because he's not 100%, and it shows.
All right, Mike, what you got?
I think their quarterback didn't go wild. Again, he was top of the league in passing yards, 161 yards passing today, and 17 completions is a pretty pedestrian performance in light of how they've been playing offensively. I'm with you guys on the missed tackles. There definitely some missed tackles, but in my estimation, we don't win the game without the turnover with them driving in the red zone, so they would be my.
Yeah, that first interception by McCrary was definitely, I think, an understated moment of this game, because they were poised to score on their first drive, and we at the doorstep he turned them back around. Now he should have freaking taken the the touchback instead of trying to run it out, but we ended up scoring anyway. So I can't be too mad at it, but but yeah. So all right, that's the defense. I think everybody is in agreement. The defense just played okay today. They weren't lights out. They weren't awful. It was just okay. We've got to play better on defense against. So honestly, I don't know if it's because of the rain that Ole Miss wasn't as sharp on offense today, but we did hold a very high-powered offense to well under what they typically score in a game. Well, not well under, but under what they have typically been scoring against other defenses this year. So there is something to be redeemable, and hopefully we can clean up some of our assignment football on that side of football. All right, let's go over to the offense today. And so we're going to start with the O-line. How do we feel like the offensive line played today?
Offensive line played well, man. They
go ahead.
Listen, we ran the ball effectively. I think Tank had a lot to do with that. I'm starting to feel like I can't tell if it's Tank or the O-line, or maybe they're just pushing forward together and they're both getting better, kind of like at the same pace. But we didn't get a lot of pressure on Bo Nix. Like, I didn't see too much. Like, he still bailed early a couple times. And the offensive line was really probably the most consistent unit in this entire game for us.
I think agree.
The grade of the game, I would give them a solid A.
Okay, Mike, what you got?
Defense, they've been improving every week. Again, another 200 plus yard game on the ground. Like you said, Bo wasn't running for his life, right? He bailed early. They were able to get pressure on him, but I don't think it was because of poor offensive line play. So I'm happy to see that unit is starting to come together, because if we're going to finish with a winning record, they have to continue to take steps every week for us to be in this with a better team. Again, we knew we had a lot to replace. To see that, 4 games in, 4 or 5 games in now, to see them get it continuing to improve is actually very encouraging for deep left for me.
All right, Caesar.
Well, a lot of the reasons Mike said, but I'm actually going to give them an A-, just because, again, we're starting to get to a place to where we're no longer going into a game concerned about our O-line. Now, the thing is that Brandon Council did get injured, and we don't know how serious his injury is and what that does for the O-line moving forward. But for this game, it's hard to look at the O-line and find any flaws or major mistakes they made. They did their part. We ran the ball well. We kept Bo upright and not running for his life. So I give him an A-.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with an A- as well. I was teetering A-, B+. There weren't a ton of pressures on Bo, and the times where it was pressure, he had time to throw the ball. We'll get to Bo in a minute. I don't want to sidetrack on that. He had time to throw the ball, and he got out. He was able to escape when he needed to. The run game was sound for the most part. pre-snap penalties, I don't think we had a single one today. Like, this is the first game, I think, this year that there was not a false start on the offensive line at all. And that's a big thing of just kind of understanding what you're supposed to be doing up there. So yeah, offensive line played well today. I don't have any beef with the offensive line today. Keon says here that he thinks that Ham is shaking off some sort of concussion or something between plays, shaking his head often. So I'll have to pay more attention to that. I don't know that I've looked at that between plays, but yeah, offensive line did well today. All right, so let's move to the outside with our receivers for today. I am going to start with you, Caesar. How do you feel like the receivers played?
I'm gonna give them a B. I'm just gonna give them a B. I think, of course, we know Seth Williams balled out this game and played very well for us. I think behind him, though, some of the play was a little bit left a lot to be desired with guys dropping passes. For what we're trying to do now in terms of like screens and blocking downfield, there's a lot to be desired with how we block as wide receivers. And so that to me is what keeps them from getting a higher grade. And then though, then you have those drop passes. We're still seeing that. I'm seeing it with some of our younger receivers, so I don't know if that's just a youth thing, an age thing, but you're a receiver. You got to catch the ball if it gets in your hand. And I know it's wet out there, so I think overall they had a good game, but there are some things, if you look at the tape, that they got to get cleaned up going into tougher competition.
Yep. All right, Mike, what you got?
I'll give the receivers a B minus. They put the ball around fairly well today. I was actually encouraged to see Eli Stokes get involved. A little bit more. I don't like how they try to how they're getting the ball to him on behind the line of scrimmage passes, right, where he's got to catch and always make a play. Like it seems like they're trying to compensate to give Bo the easy throw and then putting onus on the receivers to make a play, right? Like so, and rather than Bo putting the ball where it needs to be, so that the receivers can make the play. So again, they're going to be minus for me today. Nobody's in love with the drops, right? Like, but at the end of the day, I'm giving them credit for the balls that they did catch that were not thrown away, right? So I don't think just like the drop, kind of put us in a bad position, in some of those drives. The good catches kind of washed that out for me to be minus.
All right, I want to put a pin in that statement when you give your analysis of Bo, because you're not going to give the same credit to Bo Nix, and we'll see that in just a minute. All right, you're not going to. That's just fact. You never do. So, all right, B. Will, what you got?
Yeah, the drops were concerning. Kobe Hudson, he got in there, finally got to get some burn, and he dropped at least one.
Yeah,
that I remember.
Wow.
I think it was, yeah. Who else had a drop? I'm trying to remember who else it was.
Schwartz had a drop.
Schwartz had one. I don't know if you can. Yeah, the Schwartz drop was almost the pick, right? That was the.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one was there was. I wouldn't really call the Seth Williams one a drop. Like it was pretty tight coverage. Seth probably normally comes down with that. It hit him in the helmet. Like I don't know. Like he misjudged it some kind of way because he was thinking it was going to be up here and his hands were here. The ball hits him in his helmet. So I don't know if I call that a drop per se. And there was one other drop that we had, but yeah, I think it was only like a couple of drops in the game, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple, but they were at times where they, number one, could have been caught, and number two would have helped us continue that drive. So, or kept us in front of the chains, and that's essential when you have a run game that's going to power your whole offense, and you got a QB you can't quite trust. When we get you the ball and it's catchable, you got to make that catch to keep us on track. Right. And that did stall out a couple of drives. So I'd say B minus because it's still B minus because if our run game is going to be what it is for us, or the short passing game, you got to block. I saw too many times, man, defenders are really coming off of those wide receiver blocks and they're getting to the guy who just caught the screen pass. And I don't like to see that. The better teams, it's not that they run a tremendously different offense. That screen pass isn't some magical thing that an offensive coordinator drew up. It's just that their team is blocking it up better. And we don't block up terribly well. Alabama has always done a great job of blocking on offense at every position. And that's them. Georgia does too. And I would like to see our wide receivers hold blocks long enough for that screen to develop going forward. I hope they improve, but they're all really young, and I feel like with the older guys, we just kind of got what we got. Schwartz is
Yeah.
a speed guy, but I don't really know that he's a hands guy, and I know that he is not a route running guy necessarily. He's not even really the blocking guy. So I'm even though I understand Schwartz is a weapon, I'm starting to come into reality with his limitations, and we're just kind of doing the best with what we've got. So for what they are and what they can do, I say B minus.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with everybody and go B minus here. The blocking is concerning for me. I don't feel like we're blocking well on the outside at all. So if we're going to call those types of plays, the point of attack block has to be better. And you almost telegraph it when you put a tight end out there, which they were doing a lot with Pegues. I was hoping he was going to get some touches today. He did not. Oh my God. Tight ends are next. We'll talk about tight ends in a minute. But yeah, so the wide receivers, they did a pretty good job. They made some, they being Seth Williams, made some phenomenal catches when they needed to. Yeah, so I'll B minus. Nothing terrible, nothing spectacular outside of anybody not named Seth Williams did not have a spectacular game today as a receiver. All right, so let's talk about the tight ends then. I'm going to start with Mike. How do you feel like the tight ends played today?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I didn't really notice the tight end as much today. I don't even know if I can give a grade on this.
I don't think we should.
Yeah,
I have a grade for the tight ends.
I'll defer to you guys.
Pegues did a good job blocking almost every time he was in the game. He was destroying people. Shanker had a couple of good catches. The third down catch that he had where Bo was scrambling out and he hits him on that one to get us the first. Yep, to get us the first down on that one was a good job on Shanker.
Okay, yeah. But
So
the sidearm kind of.
Yeah, that was a good job of just understanding where he needed to be on that scramble drill and making yourself available for you. Because initially he was about to start throwing a block on that, right? So because Bo is coming out and he's blocking for him, and then he just releases at the last minute and gets upfield, and Bo hit him on that. That's just good recognition of what's going on right there in the scramble drill. So that's a good job by him. Again, and the blocking by them was pretty solid for the majority of the game. So I'm going to give them a B plus on the tight end position. One thing that I have still yet to see is tight ends being featured in the pass game. I'm not sure why, because it looks like we have guys that can catch the ball and are athletic enough to be able to get loose. Well, I mean, I don't know a real reason why. I understand what the traditional thing has happened, but it still doesn't make it make sense to me. So, yeah. Does anybody else have any input on that?
You ain't gotta like it or agree with it, but you know why.
Does anybody else have any input on tight ends, or we want to move on to we're going to move on to the one everybody came in here to see. All people who are still on this stream were waiting to hear us talk about this in coaching. So we're going to start with the money, and we're going to go straight. I'm going to let. Who do I want? Does anybody want to start on quarterback first? Who wants to go first?
I don't even talk about that man.
Oh man! So seriously,
I really need Mike to be more clear for this one, man. I really.
I know.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about running back. Sorry. I mean, do we have anything bad to say about the running back position today?
I was giving them an A.
Nah, we did good work.
Hey man, listen. They had. I was.
This was the easiest grade to give.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
At the end of the day, they were. We ran the ball a lot, so again, 4.8 yards per rush is not great, but it is good. It's almost the first down of the 2 touches, right? They ran it hard. They broke tackles. They didn't go down easy. It's nice to get the see that we have of a good number one back again. Again, 2 straight 100-yard rushing games by St. Bixby, which begins to help us open up the offense, right? When you can run the ball like that, it actually will create a lot of other opportunities. And, all of us are saying, if that wasn't going to be there, then we would have to develop a short passing game to kind of compensate. And so, if they can run the ball like this, and we continue to see improvement from the O-line and the running back like this, it paints a different picture for this offense moving forward. So, their progress is notable for that.
Yep, have to agree with that. Yeah, if anybody's giving the running backs anything but an A this game, I don't know where you see that. They blocked well in their assignments when they were trying to pick up blitz packages. Um, I don't think any of the drops were attributable to a running back. I can't think of actually. Did a running back catch a pass today though? I don't.
No.
I don't even think we had any running back targets on any passes today.
No, it's not a reception by running back today.
Yeah. So yards after contact is starting to be ridiculous for this group. Specifically Tank. That dude again. I said this while we were watching the game. I don't like the fact that he's returning kicks and then right after that he runs one back for a touchdown. But I still don't like that just because I want him to be as fresh as possible for every down. And I just think that there are other guys on this team who can return kicks. So I get it. He's a weapon. You want to put it in his hands. They're trying to turn him into Reggie Bush. That's fine, but I just really want him to be able to be as fresh as possible because there's just too many opportunities for him to take hits that he doesn't need to. When you're making him return kicks, and then he's got to come in and be the bell cow back as well. But anyway, running backs did a really great job. All right.
I also want to. I don't know how good this kid is, but I would like to see, because again, those 24 carries a game are going to start to add up down the stretch. And yes, we are going to need Tank a lot, but we want to preserve him as much as possible. I would like to see Mark Anthony Richards being added to the rotation. I feel like we need 3 good running backs to carry the load for us.
Yeah, if DJ Williams is not 100%, which it still looks like he might not be, we need that third back to be able to come in and spell. Shivers played well today in his first game back. He looked like he had the burst that he needed to. He gave us that change of pace where, typically we're going to be running between the tackles with Tank. Tank will bounce it to the outside, but there's not a lot of called plays that are going to be coming around the edge for him. Shivers, on the other hand, most of the time is going to be running around the edge. And when he was getting there, he's getting there quickly. He's making his one cut and getting upfield. He's running through arm tackles still. So he looked really good out there today. So that was the change of pace that we needed to be able to have this game be a ball control type of game. So good job by running backs all the way around. All right, so let's get to it. Quarterback. Who wants to start? Who wants to give their grade first?
I think because I have a bias, I have a bias, but I mean, I'm just gonna give our quarterback a B+ today. I'm gonna give him a B+ today. I feel as though he made better. Now, in terms of his accuracy, yes, it's a lot to be lacking. It's some lacking there, but his decision making, I think, was better in this game, just from the simple standpoint that the game plan didn't feature him. And so it was easier for the game to kind of come to him. Like he escaped the pocket when needed. When he threw the ball away when he needed to. We didn't see him. He may have forced 1 or 2 plays that kind of really got under my skin because out of the backfield with Sean Shivers, linebackers were blitzing. They were not picking him up. So Shivers would have easily picked up a major chunk of yardage. So those things are still bothering me with his play. But for the most part, he did what was asked of him. And if you would have told me the beginning of this game, based off what we felt Auburn needed to do to win, that Bo Nix was going to throw the ball 30 times, I was going to say we were going to lose. Because to me, that's just a recipe for disaster. But for him to go 23 of 30 with a touchdown, for this game, Bo was good enough. And I give him a B+ because of that.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in? B. Will said he doesn't want to talk about that guy, so I'm not going to force you to give him a grade if you don't want to.
Well, wait, before Mike goes crazy on him, let me say, I don't think I'm with Caesar. He could have played worse because we know what his low point is, and he was far above that low point. What he could have done better was there were a couple of read options where he just didn't read. He gave when he shouldn't have. He had green in front of him, so he didn't read that in properly. But the throws that he had to make, the one that stepped along the sideline for the go-ahead touchdown was a good throw. He got a little reckless on that long bomb that Steph caught. I think he was going for Schwartz, honestly. But you're not going to get that type of trajectory that you're looking for if you just going to sling it off of 1 foot running like that. So it didn't get there. Luckily, Seth was there to bail him out. But he did look better on the short throws, and that's kind of what I look for him. Is all right. So if we're gonna throw this little screen, can you get the guy the ball while he's in his momentum going forward, or are you gonna make him have to waste some time and energy to gather it, like the one that hit right in front of the stove, and we thought he might
Mm-hmm.
have caught it, but it's like, listen, man, that could have been an 8-9 yard pickup if you don't throw it at his feet.
Oh, it was gonna be more
So
than that.
yeah, so he had a few, but he did do better. The slants, the ball placement was better on those slants. He placed the ball much better than I've seen him do so far this year. So that's improvement. Do we have the all-world quarterback that we thought we were getting when we recruited him out of high school? No. And is he ever
Not even
going to be
close.
there? No.
No.
He is a mediocre quarterback. I think the best result we could hope for from Bo Nix is that he gets into the game without them calling him into the game. He has got to get into rhythm. He's got to make a couple throws that are easy, and eventually he will get into enough of a rhythm to where he's not a liability. That's the best we can hope for. He gets into enough of a rhythm where he's not expected to be the game winner, and he will not be a liability. That's the best we can hope for. And we got that today.
All right, Mike, the floor is yours.
Get him.
Right? Like,
Oh, wow. We actually
Wait, what
have
did
the
you say?
exact C plus. That's the exact same grade I was gonna give him. So I just don't get why this whole soliloquy about yeah. All right.
but like he personally, now mind you, this was his best game on the road ever, right? But the bar was so low. I mean, it would be hard for him to do any work than he can do on the road, right? Like if he's averaging below a 30 PBR on the road up until the stage, he had an 84 PBR today. He played what he do on the touchdown pass to Seth Williams, right? He put the ball exactly where that was a tough throw. He actually did step into that throw, where his mechanics and delivered a good ball. He just didn't do a success because he did not do that. It's like doing some of those throws, but right, I think it's better competition than those. So for me, those throws really just completely bad throws that have gone everywhere, right? A couple of those slants to Seth Williams, the ball was thrown behind him. Seth did a good job of adjusting his body to catch that and then still turning up and making it play. Statistically, this performance was a deep threat, right? Statistically, right? In actuality, it's a success because when you watch it, your eyes know you're completely statistical. Now, and that factors in the draft. Yeah, that factors in the draft. So, like, I think, you play better during more successful on the road, but, all bodies work into part of my goals for the offensive line and goals for, the line is, what progress do they make in the next things that beyond this game they will continue to perform, right? The eye factor, you guys may not factor that in your grade, but I factor that in my grade. I just think communication for 4 years is, like you said, we are every game for the compensate those people, right? It's good to work. And then
Man, it is so hard to hear you do. Like I am straining to hear. Are you guys hearing him really well?
Not really well, man. I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Hey guys, I'll talk louder. So we adjusted the game plan to compensate for bonus.
Oh, so okay. Listen, wait a minute. This is where your critique is not wrong, but you're being very extraneous in your critique of Bo. Like this is, I understand the game. Like I'm asking about his performance, not the game plan, not what like. You don't give him credit for anything, dude. That's again.
Listen, I gave him credit for improving on the road. I gave him credit for the throw that ultimately won the game, right? I just think all things considered, this was an average performance.
I agree. Yeah, it's almost like one of those things where I heard you give him a C plus, but then you like rattle off 20 reasons why he sucks.
No,
It's gonna be interesting to see Mike as a dad. If Mike has kids, his kids are gonna be like, thanks, maybe, Dad. I don't know.
I'm just saying, if for some reason why the score it doesn't match what he accomplished statistically, that's all I'm saying.
Listen, I gave the exact same score though. That's what I'm saying. Like again, that's why when you were saying before that we're higher on Bo Nix than you are, and I'm like, do you even know what I'm rating him for this game? I just said I think he played an average game, which is indicative by a C+ grading, as the things B Will said. He was supposed to keep a couple of times and he didn't. Right? He gave and he should have definitely kept on the read option. His I'm not so caught up on whether or not it was a perfect throw on slants when the guy could still run after the catch. With tighter coverage, yes, that's going to be a problem. The coverage wasn't tighter, so I don't have to worry. I can't play the almost result type of stuff. What I did see on the field that concerned me, and the reason why he only gets an average score for me, is inconsistency on things like blitz pickups. One time, the blitz pickup was perfect. He read the blitz coming off the left side and he threw into the blitz and hit the receiver perfectly.
Yeah.
Then you get later into the game, the exact same scenario, you should throw it to your check down and you don't. So it's just like, why can't you consistently put together the things that we see you do? The throw to Seth Williams is the exact perfect placement where you want to put a back shoulder throw in that situation. You have that exact same throw earlier in the game that you could throw, the one that hit Seth Williams on the helmet. He threw it too far inside. It's the exact same throw. It's to the other side of the field, so maybe that's... But again, I just don't understand the inconsistency. Play to play, game to game, he can't put it together consistently. So I can't give you above a C when you're being a guy that's going to give me a poor throw, and then you're going to give me a good throw, then a poor throw, then a good throw. So it's going to average out to be an average performance, right? Like regardless of what the statistics say, your play says you didn't play that great. You didn't play terrible, though, right? So I'm not going to give you like a bad grade. I'm just going to say I have to grade you based upon what your job was. Your job today was to hit guys that were open on short throws. You did that for the most part. But then when we needed you to throw the football late at the end of the half, not happening, right? We need you to hit a couple of completions early in the second half to get them out of this space where they're just going to crowd the box. Not happening, right? We need you to be disciplined enough to not just look at one read when they take that away and get to your second or third read or hit your check down because you know this read isn't there, but my check down is automatically going to be there. He doesn't even look to that guy. He just takes off. So it's the inconsistency for me that makes you stay in that C range until you get to be the hero, right? I get that. He gets to be the hero because he makes the last throw. But that doesn't wash away your performance for the remainder of the game. And when you look back on the film, you're going to say Bo played an average game despite what the statistics say.
An average game is superb for that guy.
And that's all I'm asking for.
You give me an average game from Bo, I'm happy because
an average game, this game with
is not happening.
So again, I don't like to play the results thing, but like Bo playing this exact same game that he played today, you don't have a punt that goes over the punter's head and they get the ball inside the red zone to start that drive. You don't have situations where it should have been a touchdown. Like if you don't have those other miscues, the defense playing just okay, the defense gets a couple of stops, we win this game by a few scores, right? Because we're going to have the ball more often and they're going to have to drive the ball on this defense, which is going to take more clock. It just, again, it's a cumulative effect of the fact that we're just an average football team right now. And a lot of guys are playing average football, except for the running back position. Those are really the only positions that are playing above average. They're playing well above what the rest of the team is. And it's clear, like it's head and shoulders above on the running back game. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree that we're an average football team. I know we're going to get coaching grades, but like if you factor in coaching, I think we're just a little bit below average.
Okay, no, that's fair. If you factor in coaching, I'll probably have to say that we are below average too. So I'll agree with that. But let's talk about coaching. So let's talk about defensive coaching today first and foremost. How do we feel like Kevin Steele called the game today?
For me, I think he worked with what he had. We saw some. The turnover in the red zone when Ole Miss is dropping matters a lot to me today, given the outcome and how tight the game was going into the fourth quarter. Jay, with Blitz sidelined and it seems like we have some he was figuring some things out in the line, was figuring out how to generate pass rush and they're work in progress. We're taking draft picks from that deal. So I think that I thought in the first and third, the first two games that Smoke was my key, right? He had a good game today. I thought that they played a little bit under control. I saw a lot less gathering on the field and defense. A lot
That's
less.
definitely something that I like. They weren't talking as much today defensively. A lot less chirping, a lot more just letting your play do your talking for you. I appreciated to see more discipline. Pre-snap penalties. I don't think we had an offside at all today. That's a first for this. But was my guy playing today? Did he get a couple snaps in there?
I don't think I remember seeing him.
I didn't see TD. No.
Yeah, that's probably why then. TD Moultrie didn't play, so no pre-snap penalty. So
I think Wooden took his spot. I think.
And then Big Cat played, so like he didn't get the reps in, and then we were playing 3-down linemen a lot today, so that probably has a lot to do with that. But yeah, no, so that's fair. Defensive coaching, B. Will, since you said you got to jump off here in a minute, I'll let you go ahead and get yours in.
I mean, I like the fact that they did play 3 down. At least give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? See if our secondary can hold up, and they did for the most part. They had a decent game plan. I think you kind of concede yards to the quarterback when you choose to play coverage at 3 down, and we did that because that makes them take a long time to score, which plays into our hand of running the ball and making the game much shorter. So I think it was a good game plan. The performance on each unit of the defense, like we broke down, I think it's more player than coach. We just don't have, when we don't have that guy, you're working with what you got as a defensive coach. You're hoping that those 3 downs can get a little bit of pressure to scare the quarterback and make them run and get like 5 yards instead of a 20-yard throw. And we were able to do that. But when you don't have a dude on the D line that could scare the hell out of or immediately get to the quarterback, then what you're going to see is what you continue to see, which is bend, don't break sometimes, but don't break all the time. And I think they're doing the best with what they've got as defensive coaches. So I say a solid B+ for the coaches.
All right, Caesar, what you got?
Same, B.
Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark too. I don't think this was a bad defensive game plan. What they were clearly deciding to do is we're going to concede some yardage to you, but we're trying to take away your big play opportunity. And he was frustrating Lane Kiffin into being disciplined over and because he would not come out of it. Like they were like, no, we're gonna make you chip away at it because you're not getting big play. And he refused. No matter how many times they would break a run, no matter how many times they would get like a little quick slant he just was like, no, I'm not coming out of this. All I'm going to do is change the front. So he went from a 4-man to a 3, that's it. He just kept rotating fronts on him, but playing a lot of the same coverage on the back end to just be like, all right, y'all gonna have to figure this out because we're not giving up big plays.
Which, by the way, I would like to just add that I think that was the strategy on the drop pass by Ole Miss over the middle.
Oh, for sure. Was just to not allow them into the end zone.
Just keep the play in front of you and then just try to get a hit and draw. I mean, it ended up being a drop. Maybe they played a little bit too soft, but it was clear the strategy was just keep them out of the end zone because of the time out the clock situation.
Yeah. All right. So let's flip it to the offensive side of the football. What are you giving Chad Morris and company for offensive play call? I appreciate you, B.
Yep.
Caesar, where you want to go for the offense?
I'm gonna go with a B for them as well. I think it was a good game plan. Again, you want to keep away with the ball, and we won the time of possession. We ran the ball. We tried to set up Bo to make some easier throws, which we did, and he was able to complete them most of the time. And I just think that for the type of team that Ole Miss is, a quick strike team, a team that needs rhythm to start feeling good about themselves, it was a great strategy. And again, great plan. That's what my prediction was predicated off of, them coming up with a plan that neutralized what Ole Miss likes to do. And that was the game plan. So yes, I definitely give them a B for that.
Yeah. Mike?
I'm actually giving the offensive coaches an A- for this. get credit in my book for recognizing that they need to adjust for those from last week. This is defensive game with LSU last year.
Yep, I pointed that out at the very beginning of the game when in our chat. I was like, "This is the LSU defense. Like it's the exact same defense we ran against them last year."
I think that they clearly saw what we were bemoaning on the tape last week in that terrible loss.
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear that the plan was they recognized the Saints Bixby is your best offensive weapon, right? The O-line continues to improve, right? And I think they're looking like at least a increasingly well coached unit.
Mm-hmm.
They get credit for coaching them into something. Now, mind you, the competition wasn't great defensively, but you got to take steps against the people that you play, right?
Right.
You got to play your own system. So I give them an A minus, simply for recognizing where our weaknesses are, and then seeing that there was an active plan to actually try and neutralize some of that, get the ball to the playmakers, and then just don't get out of the zone way.
Yeah.
So A minus.
Yeah, I was gonna go B plus A minus in that same range as well, because I think the game plan was sound. I think the thing that I like the most about it, I think, is that as far as the game plan is concerned, it's not so much that it was run heavy because that was clearly a focus, or it was get the ball out quickly. It didn't feel vanilla, right? Like it didn't feel like necessarily, even though it was run heavy, it didn't feel like the same run play over and over again. We didn't see a lot of the gadget type plays. We just saw them line up and play football. I think I said in the comments in our chat that this looked like a high school football game for the most part. Like it was just a bunch of read option. But what we were doing on the outside, like it was just it was pretty standard. Like it's almost like they went back to day one installs and was like, look, we're just going to go back to the very simple, break this down and do, the simple stuff. But then they mixed in the slants in there, right? They mixed in some other stuff that kept the defense honest. Game plan was sound today. Execution was decent, but the game plan was really solid. So I'd have to go B plus A minus on that as well. All right. Do we want to talk about the head coach?
No.
I didn't need to save all that vitriol for Wednesday night. So,
that's fine. Yeah, we can definitely talk more about the head coach on another show.
Again, I was like, this is Gus. This is pretty much Gus Malzahn. Like by the time people are ready for the bottom to fall out and just want him to just completely just stink it off, and he just comes back with a win.
Yeah, and so some kind of way, somehow, some way.
I just predicted it, right? It was like, this is what Gus does. It's in year 8, guys. Don't you see the pattern already? Like, he's going to pull out a win in a situation where when we've lost faith in him, he will pull out a win. And it may be fool's gold because it is Ole Miss, but this is what he does.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I think, we all feel lucky to be walking out of Oxford with a win today. We had a lot of fortunate things happen this game. A lot of things didn't go in our favor either. So I hate the narrative is going to be the refs were the reason that Auburn won this game, and they're going to point to one specific thing when we could point to just as many things earlier in the game that went the other direction that probably shouldn't have. So at the end of the day, we won the game, and we live to fight on another day. We got LSU next. Gosh, I don't even know what to think about that game, really, because LSU's been so unpredictable. But we will definitely talk about that on Wednesday night's broadcast. So you guys make sure you are back here on Wednesday when we get in and talk about the upcoming week. We'll recap some of the other things that we will see for the rest of this college football Saturday. If you're not already liking the channel on YouTube, make sure you click and like and subscribe over there. The War Report. We are the War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We are also on TikTok at TW Report. Thank you all for tuning in with us. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.